Welcome to Mary Welter Radio live cast, and then it becomes a podcast. Welcome and thank you for joining me. Don't forget, if you have not done so, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you to our new subscribers. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Please give a thumbs up to the podcast. Don't forget to go back and watch past episodes, and you can always get the audio on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Spreaker. Probably tomorrow. I don't know if I'll get it up today, but I'll try probably tomorrow. So thank you so much for joining me. We have a guest who was on the podcast a while ago. I love her. She's so much fun. We met up at CPAC 2 or 3 years ago. I'm going to have to check with her to find out exactly when. And we just had so much fun. So I would like you to meet Ms. Jen Bukowsky, Esquire. Do I call you barrister? Shall I call you a barrister?
That's my Twitter X handle is Esquire on Fire, and I got verified with it, so now I can't change it back to my name. So.
Right, yeah. So that's what I was going to say. We're on Twitter. If you want to follow her, she's ESQ on Fire. You can find her there. And not only is she a lawyer extraordinaire, because hold on, because I have everything that you do. I think I have everything that you do. If I don't, fill in the blanks. She has a brand new radio show. You're on Sundays, 10 to 2 in Missouri on Eagle 939, or is it like 939? Well, 939. How did they say?
939, the Eagle. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you give legal advice on that show? What do you do?
I cover the gambit, news, politics. I take texts and calls, current events, pop culture, whatever's interesting that week. Similarly to what I do when I go on Gary Nolan for an hour every Tuesday morning on his show on 93.9 The Eagle and multiple other stations throughout Missouri. And then I fill in for our friend Stephanie Bell on Wake Up Missouri and things like that as well as a backup host.
Yes, I met Stephanie, and Stephanie's been on the show before too. Although I have to tell you, she unfriended me on Twitter. I don't know. On Facebook. So I don't know what happened there.
She did?
Yeah, we're not friends.
That
she just
does not sound like her. I'll have to ask her about that.
Yeah,
she was just talking. We were just talking about you and going to the media dinner and CPAC and everything else.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm sure it was just whatever. No big deal. I still have her cell. So I still have her cell.
It's like a butt dial. Who knows? I'll ask her about it.
Well, tell her I don't take it personally because I have her cell phone, so I can stalk her anytime I want.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are also the founding member of the Bukowsky law firm, obviously. So you own your own law firm. You find time to do all this media that you do, in addition to being a lawyer, and you're the vice chair of the Missouri GOP. Is that the Missouri GOP?
I got elected to that position last month, so it's been fun. I go now. We just had our state Lincoln Days all weekend in St. Louis. And last night I went and spoke at the Callaway County Lincoln Day dinner. And so I'm going to do a bunch more speaking engagements. I'm starting to be like a politician, just kind of recycle some of the same hits and point. I try to make it new every time though, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know and you have children and she's got a family. So I don't know
I don't practice law full time or very much anymore. I've kind of backed away from that. So that's freed me up to do those things. And I play a lot of pickleball too. If you tried pickleball, it's amazing.
So my husband and I played pickleball way ahead of the pickleball curve.
Oh, really?
Like 15 years ago, we played pickleball. We were out in Big Sky. Friends of ours were really into it out there. We never heard of it.
Nice.
My knees cannot do pickleball. So I don't do pickleball, but my husband's nephew. So my husband's brother's son is nationally ranked. He was drafted to the Professional Pickleball Association.
Awesome.
He plays all over the world, trying to bring pickleball all over the world. So he was just in India. And they have some Indian players, but they, beefed him up with American players. So he was on Team Jaipur. So he was there for 2 weeks playing. He's played in England, and when he got out of college, he turned down a 6-figure job in finance to try pickleball.
Yeah.
He's just like stupid good at it.
That's awesome. Yeah. The number one player in the world and the highest paid by far is a 17-year-old girl. She's the GOAT. And she makes like $2 million more than the second most player in the world, Ben Johns, who has been number one at she's number one at all three: singles, mixed doubles, and doubles. But she's bought herself whatever that fancy Range Rover, next level one is. And she's amazing though. She's an incredible player.
Yeah, I gotta see. I gotta see what the rankings are in the USA pickleball rankings. USA, because he plays perfect. He got drafted. They're trying to get this national pickleball thing in. There's the UTRP rating, the PPA rating.
UPR.
It's
there's several of them, and
there's several ratings.
Merger, but it's fun. I want to go watch one of the professional tournaments because it's such a community, and I've made so many friends with it, and it's such a fun time. You know, get your endorphins going. I play tomorrow. Actually, I've just been a rec player, but now I'm in this ladder league, so I'm going to get a DUPR score and recording my points. And so it's just, among women here locally, but it's a 3-5 level, which is higher than beginners, obviously. So
it's a big deal unless you live near a pickleball court, in which case you hate it because the sound of the ball, the ta-tonk, ta-tonk, ta-tonk. They've actually done studies on it and found out why it is. The sound that the ball makes is apparently at a higher level. It's a louder, higher pitched sound, and it's erratic. It's not like a tennis whop, 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 whop. It's irregular. And so it's super annoying, super annoying.
I think it's very loud. That's interesting. Huh.
Yeah. No, it's loud, but it's at a higher pitch. So people apparently find it very annoying. So I
think basketball and like the squeaky shoes and the chud thud thud, like doors in a second. A lot I can think of. I can think of a lot more annoying noise sports. Not that they annoy me, but louder than pickleball for sure.
I guess if you live near
pickleball, you're all die on the pickleball hill.
Yeah, no, and it's a cult.
It's a little war going on in my country club between the tennis people because we're like, your courts, you have way too many, and they're not busy, and we need more courts. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, it's a cult. These people who are into it. My sister-in-law's into it. She rolled her ankle.
We don't like that word, Mary. We don't like the word cult.
I know you don't like the word cult, but it is. It's super Stepford Wives, okay?
I hosted with you should see it's like the Real Housewives of Boone County pulling up, and everyone I have a red car. Everyone's like white BMW, white. It's funny, yeah.
Yeah, it's very, and I know people who play it and they're totally into it and they're like, I have to go, they're totally into it. My sister-in-law is really athletic, but she like rolled her ankle and she didn't break it, but she came close to break it. And their doctor's like, you got to be careful. Boom, girl was right back out there playing pickleball again, so.
So many of us have like your knee brace, whatever. I had an injury. I was wearing the ace bandages for a couple months there. It's funny.
Yeah. All right, let's see who's here. Roll call. Watching your back is here. Mango Bush is here. I'm here. Okay, he says proof of life at least. What do you think I was? Porch Farm, looking forward to spending this session with Jen. Should be fun and informative. Hello, everyone. Scott is here. Rebecca's here. Ron, who does all the music for me. Ron and his kitty cats checking in. Suze is here. Now Tax USA. Hello to all the Mary Walter fans. Sounds like a great show. Bill is here. Hi, Jen. I'm a former neighbor of this country music store, the Nashville Variety, that lived next door to my farm. Please let me know if you have an interest in knowing more. Okay. She's not in Nashville. She's in Missouri. Chris Christie. I blame the Kardashians for the pickleball revolution.
I didn't even know they played that. Huh.
I don't know if they do. Gregory, the only other person I know from Columbia, Missouri is Carl Edwards. Have you met him? Because Columbia is, I'm sure, really small.
I'm friends with him, and he is a wonderful human being.
No, you really do know him?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I was going to give Gregory
he's so humble and just kind, and he's interested in politics, and I think he'd be phenomenal. But smart, great person.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's so funny. All right, let's get started here. So some of these things that I told Jen, whatever you guys want to talk about, you throw out there, we can put that into the mix. And if we don't know about something, then we're just going to move on. All right. So fair. And Jen's like, yeah, if you know about it, Jen, great. If you don't, we move on. So there's been an issue, and it's come out about Joe Biden and some of the pardons and things that he signed. It was all done by Autopen, right?
Yeah,
well, 6 of the pardons that were signed by Joe Biden in Washington, D.C. on December 22nd, 2024. There were 6 pardons signed that day. The only problem, he was in the Virgin Islands on December 22nd.
Yeah.
So he cannot attest to them. He wasn't there. Is that a problem? Or did someone call him up and he goes, yeah, that sounds cool, sign those 6, and they just auto-signed it? Does that work? Does it work that way? Do you even know?
I think it's a fascinating issue. Like, I will say, when I was practicing law before, we did everything e-filing. Now we do e-filing. So it's literally you type S/S and type your name, right? But I had a signature stamp that for like entering in a case, I'd be like, here, paralegal, I'm running to my next meeting, file this interim appearance, and yes, use my stamp. And so there are things that we use my stamp on and some things that I've used my official signature on. And I never really looked at the legalities, but I would never have allowed a paralegal or a secretary to sign something like a pardon or a commutation that has that much legal weight and import. That is not stamping a regular preservation letter to the police department that we're in this case, don't delete any of the videos or whatever. It's not a pro forma kind of deal. So the fact that they can track that he was in the Virgin Islands and that wasn't him actually signing it raises the questions of, does he know that that was signed? Did he actually make the decision and give the order to sign that document? And there's a real question, given his mental acuity, as to who was running things. And so I think it's a fascinating issue. And Andrew Bailey, our Attorney General out of Missouri, just sued over it.
Oh, good. Oh, yay. I can't wait to see how this comes out. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, he just sued yesterday, I believe, over it. And I believe the Trump administration has slow-rolled some of these commutations. I know, actually, Columbia, Missouri has a connection to one of the many, so-called, and there was a disparity between crack and powder cocaine that he was allegedly trying to address, which, by the way, he created when he was in the Senate. But some of these people that are in for so-called nonviolent drug offenses, these were people that, the local police refer to the feds because they were allegedly behind different shootings, they aren't all nonviolent people. Some of them were like the biggest leaders of violence in different communities, but they just got them on the drug thing. And that's why even with these calls for, well, now that pot's legal, it's just to mass expungements and mass pardons and all this other stuff. I have mixed feelings about it because while I always felt like it should be legal, it actually wasn't legal. And I had many, many cases where I'm making a deal with the prosecutor. Okay, drop all these other charges, the assault or whatever else, and we'll just plead to the drug thing because it sounds the least bad and take more time on that. So just because they got convicted of a so-called nonviolent drug offense doesn't mean that was all that was to the story. That's all there officially was to the story. So I'm kind of getting a little off topic there, but yeah, the pen thing is really interesting.
Yeah, super interesting. Okay, so Gregory says he was my wife's favorite NASCAR driver, Carl Edwards.
He's my one and only favorite NASCAR driver. He just got in the Hall of Fame like a week or two ago or last month. There.
I live in Jersey, where if you drive the Turnpike or the Parkway, you laugh at NASCAR drivers. So, you have the Jersey spot.
Because you have to be inclined to do it.
I know where the car, when you're on a NASCAR track, you know where the car in front of you is going. He's making a left-hand turn. In Jersey, you can have a car in the left-hand lane that the exit's right there, and they do the Jersey slide all the way across, and they get off. Like, you're like this the whole time. And even worse, driving out onto Long Island, onto the LIE or the Belt or the Cross Bronx. That's what I want to see these people do, because that takes, I think, far more skill than always making a left-hand turn at a high rate of speed.
Yeah, I grew up in St. Louis, so I dealt with traffic a lot. But now when I'm back in it, I'm like, it's stressful. I don't know how you guys handle it. We don't even have a whole rush hour here. We have rush minutes, right at 5.
We've had to drive
some stoplights that back up, but generally we don't sit in a lot of traffic or in Columbia, Missouri. That's a perk to living in the middle of the greatest country of earth.
There you go. We used to call NASCAR. They tried NASCAR in New Jersey. I don't think it did well because I don't know whatever happened to it. We used to call it non-athletic sports centered around rednecks. That's what NASCAR stands for. Don't yell at me. I didn't make that up. Somebody else did. Rebecca says, we all know that while Biden was supposed to be president, that Barack and George Santos were both running the country. George Soros, excuse me, were running the country.
Which would be worse? Probably
Yes.
Soros.
I saw George Santos was on Gutfeld a couple of weeks ago. He's hilarious. Yeah. And now that he's out, he has 0 F's to give right now. So he's outing everybody, and it was fantastic. How
do you believe anything the dude says, though? Like, he all those people in the voting for him.
Please, how many members of Congress lie? They all do, right? They all do. And and Ilhan Omar wasn't married to her brother. Come on. So
we know she was,
but she didn't get kicked out of Congress, right? So George Santos now is so pissed off. He just doesn't care. He was the one, he told Gutfeld a couple weeks ago that the smelliest member of Congress is Jerry Nadler. And that Jerry Nadler stinks. It was hilarious. The stuff he was saying, if you could find it, go back and watch
stuff that you don't hear, people don't say, but
right.
Sometimes as older folks, they get a little behind on their hygiene. Yeah, that's interesting.
You know what I've come to the conclusion with older people, off on a tangent here, but I think especially the men, they don't wash their clothes off, and they're like, I only wore it once, or I only wore it once. And after a while, it gets like that musty smell, and it hangs in the closet, and they take it out. And I notice
all their other clothes in the closet too. I think it's so good. It's like I have one person in mind, like he doesn't even have a lot of dogs, but he just always smells like. And that must be it. Like he's not getting his stuff dry cleaned or clean enough. And then it's also like musting up all the other stuff in the closet.
That's exactly what happens. I don't think they personally smell bad. I think their clothes get that stank about them because they just don't wash them often.
I'm glad you brought that up because that makes me feel better.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Okay. So Manglemush says, do preemptive pardons count for the people who have not yet been charged with a crime?
They can, but it has to be for conduct that occurred in the past, not conduct that could technically occur in the future. Because actually with Hunter Biden, not that they're going to go after him for anything, but there was like a 12-hour period that was covered in the Hunter Biden pardon that hadn't happened yet when he issued the pardon, where he could have conceivably gone out and done a bunch of crimes, but I don't think it would have applied to those future events.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was a little bit of a stretch. Watching Your Back says racing isn't a sport. Suze says, as a PA girl, I agree about New Jersey drivers. Yeah, and Pennsylvania drivers, to tell you right now, Suze, you people sit in the left-hand lane doing 56 miles an hour thinking that you're breaking the law, okay? On the New Jersey Turnpike, I'll tell you, the cops will go down, state troopers will go down the left lane to clear out the slow drivers, and they're doing 80, and people will pop out behind them and trail them. Just do it. You just don't want to be the fastest one on the road.
That they go clear out the slow drivers from the passing lane. I've never heard of that.
Oh yeah, because you're not.
Right here, it slows everyone down because even if they're doing 75, like no one could pass them. And then, you're stuck if you're traveling like 10 miles with a cop, then everyone's stuck going slow.
Well, they go fast in the left-hand lane because it's illegal to just. It's the passing lane, so it's illegal to just
on or whatever, right?
I'm sorry.
Because they are going to emergency, or because they're
they're just clearing it out because people will sit in the.
Sometimes that's great.
People will sit in the left-hand lane, and it's only a passing lane, and then people have to pass them on the right, and that's what causes accidents. So they'll go up with their lights flash and blare and going flying down the left-hand lane to just clear everybody out. Boom, 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 boom. But the best part of it is they'll pass people who are in the middle lane doing 75, 80 when the speed limit's 65, and they just go right past them. They don't even care. As long as you're not in the left-hand lane gumming up the works, nobody cares. Okay, let's see. Where are we? Santos. Oh, she also saw George Santos on Gutfeld that night. He was hilarious. I highly recommend you go back and watch. It was so funny. Porchview Farm says, here in West Virginia, you go to Walmart when NASCAR is racing because there's no lines. Rebecca from West Virginia as well. Sue says, oh, not her in Pennsylvania. She doesn't sit in the left-hand lane. She has a lead foot. Manglemush says, why do I get stuck behind so many New Jersey drivers on Route 80 in the Poconos? I don't know. I can't answer that question for you. I just sit in the right-hand lane. It's the fastest lane. Boom, 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 boom. I could pass everybody on 95, especially if you're heading south. Right-hand lane. Boom, 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 boom. The trick on 95 heading south, since I used to commute from New Jersey to Washington, D.C. every week, down every Sunday, back every Friday. You go down, and I learned that many of the exits on 95, especially heading south, are really scooch lanes. They have an exit, but then cars can get on there too, so they can get back on 95. So if traffic's going slow, you get off and you parallel 95, and boom, and you get back on farther up.
Yeah. That's my kind of hack. I like those kind of hacks.
I
bet you'd be good at Mario Kart. Have you ever played that?
Once I learned the pattern, it would be great. Okay.
Yeah, I bet you'd be a great Mario Kart player. You know the Nintendo game?
Yes, I do know the Nintendo.
It's all about finding little secrets out like you just mentioned.
Yeah, that's how you do it. That's how you do it in Pennsylvania. I mean, in Maryland especially. Okay. So this story just came up on Politico about 3 hours ago. A senior official at USAID instructed the agency's remaining staff to convene at the agency's former headquarters in Washington today for an all-day group effort to destroy the documents stored there.
What?
According to Politico, in the email that was sent by acting executive director Erica Carr was obtained by Politico. The materials earmarked for destruction include contents of the agency's, quote, classified safes and personnel documents at the Ronald Reagan building. Quote from the email, according to Politico, shred as many documents first and reserve the burn bags for when the shredder becomes unavailable or needs a break. Carr instructed staff to label the burn bags with the words secret and USAID/B/IO, agency shorthand for Bureau or Independent Office, in dark Sharpie. The email didn't provide any reason for the destruction. The building's being emptied after the layoffs, which may have disrupted routine document destruction timetables. CBP is planning on moving into the USAID facility.
It could just be a storage issue. It's like if you're having other people that aren't authorized to see that information that are about to be in that building, you need to do something to secure documents that they don't have the clearance to see. And maybe they have them stored electronically. So you would in that event need to destroy them promptly because out of security. We can't just leave them in the trunk of a Corvette in the garage by a crack addict's son or anything, you know. You got to be responsible with that stuff.
According to a former USAID staffer that Politico contacted, said the following: I have never seen something like this en masse. Everyone with a safe is supposed to keep it up to date and destroy documents when they no longer need to be stored. Sometimes security will check your safe and tell you if you have to clean out old material. This person was granted anonymity due to fear of a reprisal by the Trump administration. So who knows? But I thought that was crazy. It may be legit, but
because we know we have all kinds of caves all over that they could shove a bunch of boxes in that way. But yeah, I don't know why they would do that. But I was just thinking about this other day. It's like, okay, I can't believe this, but I've been a lawyer long enough. Like, it's been more than 10 years and I need to go in and shred like 4 years worth of because they're over 10 years old and that's my retention policy, but I haven't gotten around to doing it yet.
Yeah. Our town has a couple of days, like a couple times a year, they bring in big shredders to the beach club in the parking lot in the off season. And then there's just a line and you just dump your stuff.
I love watching those things work. My shredder is like nothing compared to those puppies.
Oh yeah, no. Okay, so there was that. All right, so what do you make of this little tiff between Donald Trump and Thomas Massie? Thomas Massie said that he will not vote for the stopgap. He's the one Republican who said he will not vote for it. And Donald Trump wants this thing passed, right? And they took a vote on it tonight, and they approved the stopgap funding bill. Then they had one Democrat, Jared Golden, voted yes. Thomas Massie voted no.
Did it pass?
It passed.
Okay.
So Trump is really down on Thomas Massie, and I have mixed feelings. I love that he's independent. This is why his constituents voted for him. I think that they know who he is, and they love that independence that he has. And he's kind of like Rand Paul. He's kind of from the same cloth, right? But I think also sometimes that independence is great, but sometimes you have to vote strategically, even though it may not be exactly what you want. So now Trump is feuding with Massie.
I think he was having a little bit of a temper moment with Massie. Like, I actually know Massie because, in addition to going to the CPAC stuff where I've met you, I go to recent magazine events. So I've actually met him in person. One year he wished me happy birthday on Facebook. I was like, thank you, Congressman. But I could see both sides of this because it's so tight. It's a tighter margin between Democrats and Republicans in the House than it is in the Senate. And we don't have a vice president of the House to break ties. So we're on a razor thin margin. And so it's frustrating to President Trump to have a Republican that he doesn't have like a backup plan. He doesn't have his own bill. He doesn't have his own contingent of people, but he just votes no on principle. But it's good to have people like Thomas Massie to say what those principles are. So I do see both sides of it. But I think that says to me, when I saw that come out last night, that they were having trouble getting the numbers and they really needed him. And Trump just got really fed up with them and was like, we might need to primary him. But they've tried to primary him before and it hasn't panned out. And it's harder to unseat an incumbent congressman. Yes. So
yeah, well, the name recognition alone goes a really, really long way.
Yeah, just the incumbency too. Like you can much more easily get donors and everything to be in there. It's your known quantity, so it's hard to unseat one.
Yeah,
we did it here with Cori Bush. We got rid of her. So you're welcome for that. Sorry that we put her in there to begin with.
Yeah, she needs to go. Jasmine Crockett's got to go too.
Yeah, I was like, my Act Blue has my information now because I donated to her primary opponent. I added with Missouri Congresswoman Cori Bush saying the dumbest things ever constantly. She was the squad member, if you'll recall.
Yeah. Well, she went at Jamal Bowman also lost. They got rid of him from the squad.
Firearm dude. But now they got that new chick that she's in there saying, what's her name?
Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah. It was she. She's new, isn't she? I don't.
Yeah. I believe
she's popping up all over the place saying dumb stuff. So at least she's not from Missouri, though. Where's she from?
Texas.
Oh, bummer. Huh.
I know. Well, what's interesting is I saw a video of her, and she loves to swear and drop the F-bomb and talk like she's all hood, right? Like she's from the streets. When she's a lawyer, and when she was first running, so this may be a re-election. She may have won re-election. I'm not sure. But when she was first running, there's old video of her, and she doesn't speak that way at all. Yeah. She doesn't talk like that at all. The Democrats play a role. They're all cosplayers. They're all playing a role. They, the performative dances and the singing, like it's 1964 and Haight Ashbury. They're all the aging hippies are out there with the guitars singing these retreads of, 1960s resistance songs. And you've got the congressmen, the women. Remember when the video just came out last week of pick your favorite fighter and they're all jumping and going like this. It's like, I love the one who looked like she was trying to have a bowel movement. The one who was just pushing her butt up and down and going like that. She was terrible. I was like, oh,
I still rarely see a video where I'm like, you know what? I might be able to take a couple of those girls in a fight. That never happens to me. But I'm like, they don't look so tough. They need if Republican women did it, we'd be cross bandoliers. We'd have knives strapped in. We'd be ready to roll. Choose your. Then you're going to choose someone. Those gals, no, I'm not choosing any of them.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Tulsi Gabbard, right? Like just off the top of my head, women who are jacked on our side.
And we'd be strapping. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, Hermit South is here. Yes. Rebecca says, I call her Jasmine Crocco.
Yeah. I like that. I might have to steal that.
Yeah. Sue says the Dems need to learn how to swear better. It sounds so scripted. Very, very well. When they all read the same script with their swearing in it, they're so brave.
It was literally scripted, and I use it literally correctly, not the way that they do these days.
Yeah, but, Sal wants to know if Jasmine Crockett's related to Davy Crockett. Apparently not. Someone looked
Davy Crockett.
I remember that song when I was a little kid. That was like an old Disney movie and
my parents sing that.
Yeah. So there's a new study out. It's published in Legal Insurrection, that the H5N1 strain of bird flu looks like it goes back to the Chinese reportedly
I'm gonna lose my mind. Really?
Reportedly experimenting with the H5N1 strain. Yes. So it looks back in 22 during the early days of the bird flu pandemic, I wondered if the H5N1 strain of bird flu was gain of function. The reason for was twofold. One, it had a high kill ratio. A new virus might have a high infection fatality rate. 100% fatality would only likely be achieved if the virus genetics were rearranged to target a host species. And back in since 2019, we now have been enjoying bird flu and it has been spreading. And it looks like it may have, it says, oh, I may have been right about the gain of function. I was wrong about the laboratory. It turns out that this virus might be a joint American and Dutch creation, not Chinese.
Well,
yes. Yeah.
To avoid like blaming the Wu flu on the Chinese lately because he's trying to make deals.
Yes. All right. So it says there's the study is called Proximal Origin of Epidemic Highly Pathogenic Avian Influenza H5N1 Clade 2.3.44 base spread by migratory waterfowl by Nicholas Hulser and these other guys, and it investigates the potential laboratory origins of the virus. And it was published in Poultry, Fisheries, and Wildlife Sciences in November of 2024. And it says that it may have emerged from gain-of-function research conducted at two specific facilities, the USDA South Poultry Research Lab in Athens, Georgia, and the Erasmus Medical Center in Rotterdam, the Netherlands.
Huh.
So we got to stop funding this stuff, right?
You know, it's kind of above my head, but I don't understand why they're in the business of creating new diseases to study them. But
yeah,
I could be open to hearing an argument that there's a valid reason that's good for the health and well-being of everyone to do that.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Rosie O'Donnell has moved to Ireland.
She did, really?
Yes, Rosie O'Donnell has moved to Ireland. Let me bring this up here for you. Share screen. No. Okay, here we go. Here she is. Here's Rosie O'Donnell. Ready? Oh, this is 9 minutes, so I'm not going to play the whole thing, but just part of it.
I can't hear it.
Oh, you can't hear it? Okay. All right. Well, I don't know why you can't hear it, so I'm going to stop sharing it. But basically, what she says is that she's in Ireland, and she took her 12-year-old daughter with her, and she moved to Ireland.
12-year-old daughter? How does she have a? She's
a
lot older than me, isn't she? My kids are. Huh.
Well, I think this may be her youngest. She said, but she took her 12-year-old daughter with her.
Or something, adoption.
Maybe. Yeah. She says, because Americans have equal, because not all Americans have equal rights now. Now, her daughter's apparently trans or non-binary or something.
Oh, boy.
And her daughter, she calls her daughter Clay, C-L-A-Y. You know, I'm happy Clay's happy. I miss my other kids. I miss my friends. So she didn't go with the whole family. She left some kids behind.
But the other kids have got to be grown. I mean, Rosie O'Donnell's like older than much. I'm surprised that she still has kids in the house, right?
Yeah, she
the other ones have got to be grown up.
Yeah, I have actually. Rosie O'Donnell confirmed. Yeah, let me bring up the New York Post story. Yes, she moved on to Ireland January 15th with her 12-year-old daughter Dakota, who she refers to as Clay.
Ah.
She said,
daughter.
She said, I'm happy. You know, I'm happy. Clay's happy. I miss my other kids. I miss my friends. I miss many things about life there at home. And I'm trying to find a home here in this beautiful country. And when it is safe for all citizens to have equal rights in America, that's when we will consider coming back.
Huh.
Yeah. Apparently she says that her daughter, I guess, doesn't have equal rights in the United States because I guess her daughter is trans or something.
I thought Europe is harder on some of that stuff than we are.
Yeah.
Like, they'd stop allowing the hormones and stuff like that. I like Ireland a lot, but yeah, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. So I don't know, but all I know is she left the other kids home. And I just think like that's really, really, really weird to leave your other children home, right?
Yeah, and is she divorced or what? Like,
I don't know. Poor Farm said she
like she's worried about the other parent of this daughter. Is she taking her away? I assume it's another mom, right? She taking her away from her other mother? That's weird. That's really weird if that's the case.
Let's see. She has 5 children: Parker, Chelsea, Blake, Vivian, and Dakota. She adopted all of them, with the first being Parker in 1995 and the youngest Dakota in 2013.
Okay.
So, I don't know. Honestly, I never delved that much into Rosie O'Donnell, so I don't really know. Oh, the oldest child made headlines after being arrested on multiple drug arrests. The oldest is 29 years old. She was initially a single mother, but her former wife later became his legal parent as well. So she was married and got divorced.
Oh, her second wife died.
So the first
wife annulled, then second marriage to Michelle Rounds in 2012. They separated in 2014, and then she died in 2017.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. So that's good that she's not taking away the child from the other parent.
And the other kids are launched. They're in there. The 4th child is 22 years old. She shares that daughter with her former wife, who I guess is still in the States. And then the youngest one is 10 years younger than the one ahead of her. So that's why she's with her. She filed for a divorce from her second wife, Michelle Rounds.
Yeah, that's the one that passed away in 2017.
Oh, yes, she did. Yeah, she died of suicide in 2017.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I thought her daughter was like gay or something. She's autistic. So whatever, she doesn't feel her daughter has equal rights, so she moved to Ireland. And I don't think anybody's going to miss her.
I've totally forgotten about her anyway.
Yeah. Mango Mush says Rosie needs to get the F out of my ancestral lands. Faith in Begoria.
My ancestral lands, kind of, right? Oh,
aren't they cracking down on rights in Ireland like they are doing in most of Europe, to what you just said? Porchview says Biden's people killed the chickens. All birds carry the virus. Nobody even knows if the birds were actively infected. Yeah, they killed a lot of birds that they weren't even sure were actively infected. All right, let me see if the audio plays for this, because I want to see if I can get this. Let me see if I can share screen. Let's try this. See if this works.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm on with you that I couldn't.
No, somebody else did the same thing. So let's see if you can hear this.
Today, we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable and accounts for their interests, their security, their ability to prosper as a nation. I want to personally we both want to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Majesty, for hosting us, for making this possible. They've been instrumental in this process, and we're very grateful to them for hosting us here today. And hopefully we'll take this offer now to the Russians. And we hope that they'll say yes, to peace. The ball is now in their court. And but again, the president's objective here is, number one, above everything else, he wants the war to end. And I think today Ukraine has taken a concrete step in that regard. We hope the Russians will reciprocate. Today we made an offer.
Right. So there you go. So there we go. What do you think? What do you think? They're going to take it to the Ukrainians, and maybe we have a deal.
I like it. I do.
It's interesting. People who say, with the left, they're saying you have to be, if you are against Zelensky, you're for Putin. And I don't necessarily believe that that's true. If let's say you're going to marriage counseling, right? You want to find a counselor who's neither for one side or the other, right? You want to find someone who is truly on the outside looking in and trying to negotiate a fair deal between the two of you. So just because you say, oh, he's against me, that's a horrible arbitrator. He's for my wife, he's only on my wife's side. That may not be true just because he disagrees with you on something. He can truly be, it is possible to sit in the middle and be Switzerland and not be for one or the other. Trump just wants this over with. And just because he doesn't agree with everything Ukraine wants and doesn't want to fund an endless war that's going to go on for generations, and we're going to pump billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars and trillions of dollars
all
into
those lives that, like,
Yeah.
our support has continued this conflict that Ukraine can't ultimately win, like all the lives that cost, that bothers Trump.
Right.
And so
I just
end it, and then it was so puerile of Zelensky to be in the White House in that Oval Office blowing up the deal, like wanting, Trump to trash talk Vladimir Putin. Like Trump loves saying what he thinks. And so he was the adult in the room. He's trying to make a deal. So he can't sit there and be like, yeah, he's the worst guy ever. When Zelensky was in there, he was just trying to sit through the meeting, get through it, grin and bear it, get through it, let him run his mouth and get him to sign the thing. But then at one point it went too far and JD piped up. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm glad to hear that progress has been made.
I think that like you said, Trump just wants peace. He just wants it over with. Yeah. But the left, for whatever reason, has such a vested interest in continuing to fund this. It's absolutely amazing to me. Like, wait,
it's incredible. Growing up, the left didn't like war. The left were the most free speech people you ever saw. Like, they wanted freedom. They wanted you to be able to like say the wrong thing or whatever, call people retarded, whatever. And now they're just so, authoritarian and pro-war. It's unbelievable. There really is just anti-Trump, and the TDS is a real thing.
It's so true. If Trump said, we should every day, Robert F. Kennedy says every day you got to get outside, you have to take deep breaths of air to really clear out your lungs, and just it's really good for your health. The left would sit around holding their breath.
Oh yeah.
Right? Just because Trump recommended it.
I am like, I need to breathe. I need to take deep breaths too, because you're saying it too. I'm tribal too, I guess.
But the left will automatically say you shouldn't do it just because Trump or RFK or whomever in Trump's world says you should do it. They're going to be against it. But you're so right. I remember, the stories of the hippies and Haight-Ashbury. Bernie Sanders was one of those hippies, right? He vacationed. He honeymooned in communist Russia or wherever he went. They were so anti-establishment, and now they've become the establishment.
And they're so free speech protective. They'd be like suing so that the Ku Klux Klan, all 3 guys or whatever, could walk down Main Street in the different towns for the parade or whatever. Remember that? Right. Like, because they're like, free speech is so important. Now, with all the, the pronoun policing and everything else, they've just lost the plot totally.
They have. Speaking of that, I want to go to so much to go to here for you. Oh, all right. Let's go here because we're going to run out of time. There's so much to talk to you about. Okay, so what is your take as a lawyer on this Mahmoud Khalil, who he's going to be deported from the United States? He was he was arrested on the campus of Barnard. He is not a Barnard student, so he was trespassing, but he was very active and played a very important role in the protests in Colombia, where they took a janitor hostage, they broke into a building, etc. And he is there organizing on Columbia's campus to support Hamas, which is a terrorist group in the United States. The left saying free speech, you can say whatever you want. But he's a green card holder. So he doesn't have, from what I understand, the same rights as the rest of us. And I found something that explains it, but I wanted to hear from you first.
Well, I think it is, I'm conflicted on this one, Mary, I'll be honest, because it's really unusual to be trying to use this kind of exception on a green card holder without them being charged or convicted with a crime to get them deported. Usually you need that in order to deport. Green cards are, much more strong than temporary stay or whatever. You can permanently stay with the green card in our country. He's married to an American citizen who's 8 months pregnant. And so there is an exception for terrorist activities, but what Caroline Leavitt cited in her press conference was this distribution of pro-Hamas propaganda flyers. So if you're going to say that that is enough to forfeit the privilege of residency because that is, recruiting or funding of terrorism, then it starts to be kind of a gray line as to what can green card holders do. So that's the criminal defense attorney in me. But on the other side, I really do not care for this radical Islamic stuff, especially as a woman. I like sending a message and to non-citizens, like if you're going to come here and cause this kind of trouble and chaos on our university campuses, that was spreading like wildfire all over the country. I don't know who is paying for it on all these campuses. And it was just like, please, finals week, get here so that these kids can calm down and go the heck home. And it finally did, but it was really coming to a fever pitch last year, if you'll recall. And it's guys like this that are behind it. So arresting someone so prominent in that movement, it's ironic because it could chill speech, but I kind of do want to chill speech of people like that are not citizens of our country, that have, been given the privilege to come here from stirring things up like that. But it is very unusual for him to be arrested like that without being charged with a crime. And then didn't they ship him down to like Louisiana or something? So there's definitely trying to send a strong signal, but it is a worrying one because you got to remember, we're not always going to be in power. So when there's a Democrat president, who knows, we know
what happens. If you're a January 6th or arrested on a misdemeanor, you're going to sit in jail for 4 years without even being charged, with never seeing a judge. You'll be moved all over the country 12, 18 times.
They were charged, but
so that your
military, and they're charged and saw judges.
What happened? Didn't the lawyers get slapped down by a judge once Trump came into office for overcharging them and illegally charging them with some things? Right, there was some enhancement that they put on them.
Yeah, well, a lot of them, the Supreme Court, they won a case at the United States Supreme Court because they're like, you can't apply this act that was just for, oh God, I'm slipping my mind, but basically after Arthur Anderson collapsed, the accounting one, you can't use this kind of charge on at the way that you were charging it.
Yeah, it wasn't RICO, but it was something along those lines. But anyway, according to the
that's what it was.
According to the U.S. Code, the green card holder is inadmissible. Any alien who endorses or espouses terrorist activity or persuades others to endorse or espouse terrorist activity or supports a terrorist organization. U.S. House Code. And any alien who is described in subparagraph B or F of section 1182A3 of this title is deportable. So
I want to see the flyers to see, like, if he was just saying anti-Israel stuff, that's one thing. But if he was actually distributing stuff to lead to people joining up with Hamas, then that's a different story. And I bet that it was because they ended up arresting this guy. But I'd want to see it, and I hope he does get his hearings in court because that's the way that we operate in America.
Yeah, I kind of would like to just see him shipped on a boat and off he goes. That's just me. Sorry, I just really, truly don't care.
How about that wife of yours? She can go with you, and good luck to her for doing that. I really hope that she's not pregnant with a daughter if that's what they choose to do, because whatever country that guy lands in, talk about not having rights. Like, okay, Rosie, think if there are women that are chattel still in these Islamic countries where they can't even leave their house without their husband/brother/father owner's permission and being escorted at all times by a male. It's just absolutely disgusting.
Exactly. Quickly, we'll go here because there's two things I want to get to you on. The last one will be very fun. It's suggested by Jen. It seems that Elizabeth Warren wants the war to continue. She was just applauding it during the speech. Chris Christie says, damn, I have to go look up puerile.
Childish, sorry.
Rebecca says, it breaks my heart thinking about all the young Ukrainian and Russian lives that were snuffed out due to this war. Chris Christie said, it's just a matter of time before Rosie pisses off an Irish politician. She'll be back. I mean, where else is left? China? Africa? Gregory says, at least Rosie isn't contaminating the gene pool.
Ooh, harsh.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Manglemush, if Trump walked on water today, tomorrow's headlines will read Trump can't swim. Porchview Farm, the ultimate utopia.
Breaks law of physics, indict him now.
That's right. That's good. Porchview Farm says the ultimate utopia. The USSR got rejected and the left got upset. Scott, we always have to watch who gets in control of the big sword. For Hermit, for the left, free speech is anarchy, it seems. Jerry, you're so right about how contrarian the left is. I saw a meme showed two pictures. The first was saying, Trump saying, don't drink your urine. Guess what the second picture was? Portuguese Farm says the guy, this Khalid Mahmoud, is considered a U.S. person. He's considered a green card holder, yes, but he's not a citizen.
Yeah.
Rebecca.
Green card holders are legal permanent residents, so it's not that easy to get a green card. Well, probably not that easy. Who knows? But yeah.
Rebecca says being a green card holder is a privilege in our country and not a right or a guarantee.
Yeah.
He is eligible for applying in consideration for a job under ITAR. Well, if you're a green card holder, if you marry a citizen, which my favorite show, 90 Day Fiance, once they get their green card, they can go out and get a job and they can do stuff, right?
Yeah.
But then they still have to apply for citizenship. They're still not a citizen.
Yeah.
Right. So Chris asked if he's an actual citizen. He is not. Squeaky says, speaking of Bernie Sanders, any thoughts on Bernie Sanders' rally and the warm-up act with your God, your God? I can't even.
I don't even say it.
Yeah, I chose not to play it because it's so blasphemous and so insulting and so offensive to Christians. I mean, pretty much to everybody. But it was really aimed at Christians, and I'm just not going to give it any airtime.
Well, speaking of that, I don't know if we have time for that, but have you ever listened to that Sanctimonious Pod Save America podcast with the Obama bros, like the super lefty podcast? They interviewed Bernie after that rally. And at the very end of the interview, I can't believe I listened through this whole long episode, but he asked him, would you ever do a pot gummy with me and like just really get zoned out? Like he asked 70 or 89-year-old United States senator to go do drugs and really just have a long conversation with him. And Bernie was finally, he goes, "You're serious?" He's like, what happened to the radical? What happened to this? He's like, "You're serious? I've only done marijuana twice in my life. That's not who I am." And he cut the interview off. He really pissed that guy off. I'm surprised he didn't make any news because it was super awkward. And I even couldn't believe it. I'm like, how are you? That's very disrespectful to say to this. He's 89-year-old United States senator. I don't know if it's healthy for him to be doing your gummies, bro. Like, what is wrong with you? And how is that appropriate to invite a U.S. senator to do drugs with you? Weird.
Well, I will say that at 89 years old, does it really matter at that point? Go do whatever you want to do. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, sure. But it was just a super awkward thing to like. I thought it was a very disrespectful invitation to offer to a United States senator. And so did Bernie Sanders. And he cut off the interview and it was over. Yeah.
Over on Getter, we have someone whose handle is Jesus. Donald Trump is Jesus Christ. So, okay. Our living God has blessed the world.
I mean, I'm a fan, but that's a little much.
Mike says, as far as Khalil goes, don't ever come back. Kick him out and don't ever come back.
I agree with that.
Let's see. Rebecca says, you sound a lot like Megyn Kelly.
Wow, that is very flattering. Thank you.
Isn't that great? Mango Mush says, give Bernie some shrooms.
If he wants them, but don't invite him to sit there and get drugged out with you and do an interview. I thought that was totally disrespectful.
I agree. All right, so I want to share something here, and then we're going to go on to a fun topic suggested by Jen. And I just want you to watch this. I don't know if you've seen this. I just want to know what your impression is here.
Happy International Women's Day, everyone. Listen, I am just so proud of what we are doing. And just to all of the women, all of the girls, all of the young women, let's just remember that we belong. Let's use our voices, chin up, shoulders back. Let's push to the front of the line. Let's raise our hands. Let's speak up. Let's shout out. Let's march when we need to. And let's always remember that we're in this together. Take care.
Okay.
It's forgettable. It's a nothing. It reminds me of everything that she said throughout her campaign.
Okay. Something deeper. Is it me or did she look stoned? She's like this. Her eyes are watch. Look at her eyes. Watch her eyes on this.
Happy International Women's Day, everyone. Listen, I am just so proud of what we are doing. And just to all of the women, all of the girls, all of the young women, let's just remember that we belong. Let's use our voices.
She's squinting. She's squinting through the whole thing. She's like, oh, women. I don't know. I think she looks high, but that's just me.
It's possible, I guess. Yeah.
I guess, yeah. Well, we were just talking about Bernie Sanders, so I thought, oh, this is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought she did. Okay, let's see. Oh, Squeaky looked up the lyrics to that song. I respect you not going there. Rebecca, oh Lord, every time I hear Kamala speak, I think I lose IQ points.
Okay, seriously, how was she even their candidate? I'm still confused by that.
Well, isn't she still one of the leading candidates for 2028? But it's so far away. So much could happen between now and then.
For governor. Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay. She would celebrate it. Of course, she would celebrate a commie holiday. Kamala takes the Elvis cocktail. She's on it all.
Huh.
She's Special K. Hey. Oh, she definitely had a few belts or toques. Yeah, she definitely. I'm sorry, but to me, she looks like she's high. That was just my impression. Who knows? Maybe it was really bright in the room, so she squinted a little bit like this. But she had those half-open eyes, girl. I don't know. To me, she just looked like she definitely had one too many gummies.
I see her like a little more like appeared online, which I cannot judge because you can guess when I'm up late tweeting on Esquire on Fire, it's usually because I've been my husband went to bed and I finished our bottle of wine and I have thoughts. So I'm in no place to judge Kamala if she's enjoying her red wine.
I have thoughts. You're so funny. Okay. So one of your thoughts was to talk about this Love is Blind show,
yes.
which I had never heard of until this whole brouhaha. No, because I watch Married at First Sight, and I can only do so many.
90 Day Fiance, you watch Real Housewives. You have not watched. I've watched this is like one of the only reality shows I watch. I've watched all 8 seasons of it. You'll love it. Go check it out.
Well, I haven't watched all. So on Married at First Sight, like they match you and you don't see that person until you get up to the altar and you get married. This show, they talk to each other, but they never see each other, right?
Yeah, I kind of like the concept in general, which is what attracted me to the show, because right now it's so superficial with the dating apps. You're making a decision as to whether to spend time people on just one little headshot, And so the concept is this way you get to know your values, what you want in life, your personality, things that matter to you. And you have those conversations before you see each other. And I mean, generally, everyone's pretty hot on there, so you're kind of safe in that regard. But sometimes there's some mismatches because sometimes there's some super hot people that get matched with attractive people, and that can be a problem. But anyhow, so they talk in they call them pods through a wall. And then they get engaged, sight unseen. Then they go on a vacation together. And then they go live together for a couple of weeks in like furnished apartments in the city they're from. And this time they're from Milwaukee, which is important because this is what's led to this whole brouhaha. And only one couple is getting flack for it. And they ruined the show. I wasn't yet caught up when I saw what happened with the beautiful blonde chick who ends up ditching this guy at the altar after, promising like everything's perfect with them, etc. But their values didn't align because he didn't know enough about Black Lives Matter. And he goes to church every week and her sister's gay. And what if we have a trans kid? And what does your church feel about that? He's like, well, I'm not sure what my church's position is on that. So she looked up some sermon and they weren't accepting enough. So just in case they have a trans kid, she just can't be married to a guy that goes to church like that. And I'm like, you know what? That's probably good that she made that decision for them, because he was like, well, can we still date? And he said, like, the physical, I think the physical closeness like blinded me to whatever. I'm like, yeah, she was hot, super
Right.
hot. And that was blinding him, but she did them both a favor. So it's, I think she's getting a lot of the grief for it. But the interesting thing was, no one's talking about this. There was another couple, one of my favorite couples, that broke up because of politics too. And they're in Milwaukee. And they're like, well,
Yep.
what about politics? And it's Devin and Virginia. And I thought for sure they were going to get married, but then didn't because of politics. Because, and he's like, she's like, well, I vote Democratic. And he's like, I'm not that into politics. And I vote Democratic. And she's like, my parents are conservative. She's like, I think it's because I'm black. He's like, well, your dad's black. They're both black. They're both like half black. They both each have a white and a black parent. And, but his parent, he's religious too. And she was too. That's the interesting thing. But she's very pro-abortion and didn't think that he was sufficiently woke enough to marry. So it seems sad that things are getting in the way. These people are all on this show because they're desperate to get married, or they supposedly are.
Right.
And two of the couples that actually fell in love and everything else ended up not doing it because of politics. Isn't that amazing?
But you know what, though? I don't think it's amazing for this generation.
Yeah.
These young women are so steeped in liberalism.
On their apps, like
You're
and
gonna have
I was much more on the left when I met my husband, but these chicks are like 10 years older than I was. So by the time I was their age, I knew better. But yeah, interesting.
I just think you're gonna have an entire generation of single, young, miserable women.
That's what I'm saying. Like these, like they're both like 31 years old. I'm like, where you had this amazing guy, he's totally over the moon, saying all these beautiful things to you. And now where are you going? Back to your house? Do you have a cat, a dog? Like, this is your chance for happiness, and you let politics get in the way of your chance for happiness and love and a family. And TikTok, like we're having kids at your point in your life. Like I'd already had my kids when I was your age.
I know. Well, they're all getting married in their 30s now. That they're all getting married in their 30s, which is fine. But you better have kids right away if you want to have kids.
So, like
right?
for them to find another man, I mean, it's such an intensive experience, and people like the family's like, "What do you mean? You just met this person?" But they argue they can't have their phone, so all they're doing is focusing on this and having. So it's like having a million dates in a compact period because they have no distractions, and so they can really get to know each other.
But let me ask you: Am I supposed to believe in all of these intense conversations that they had and all these dates over and all this period of time? They never talked about politics. Like they never.
The one, so I looked this up after I was stunned because after I saw the leaked thing last night on Fox of how it ended with the pretty white cup, the hot girl, breaking up over Black Lives Matter. I caught up and then I looked at an interview, and apparently the black guy did not want on camera to talk about politics. So she said when they got back to Milwaukee, she found out more about that he didn't want to talk about on camera, which who can blame him given like how they'll come after him. And so then that was why it was such a surprise to me that she called it off, but it was a hard no for her after she found out that, yeah, he's not as flexible as he was on camera, leading her to believe about being pro-abortion and whatever else.
Yeah, I just think that this whole generation has a hard time. I know someone who is adorable, and I think she's a wonderful, wonderful person. And she's in DC, and she's 30, in her early 30s, 31. And she has been looking for the right guy, and she does Catholic Match, and she does all this stuff, and she does conservative, but she's in DC. How many conservatives are roaming around, right? And
how do you say that? Because the liberal chicks in DC are like, all the hot guys are conservative.
Well, they are. That's true.
That there's no attractive guys on the left in DC. So the hot ones are all conservative. So hopefully your friend meets one of those.
Yeah. Well, the problem is, she wants to have kids. She wants to traditional wife it. Oh, my cat just jumped up on here. She wants to traditional wife it. So she wants a man who can, if they get married, she'll have the kids and take care of the kids, and he's going to go out and work, which is fine. If that's what you want, that's fine. There's no shame in that game. Do your thing. But, she met this great guy, but he owns a farm. Now there's a lot to be said for owning land. I will say that. But she says, well, I can't, and they hit it off and everything was great, but she goes, I can't live that far away from like civilization. I have to be close.
That's
I'm like,
trying
okay.
to get a traditional life. Like,
Well,
you're going to be home with the kids anyways the next 15 years. Like, what? Who cares? You might as
well,
well get from annoying neighbors. And you can hopefully have grandparents come and go to the city and have your nice meals and go to the show and come back to your family. It's faces.
Yeah.
She should have gone for it.
I agree. I think she should have gone for it too, but she's like, well, I could do suburbs. I just can't do rural. Like the nearest grocery store is like 20 minutes away. I'm like, so what? And I was a kid, the grocery store was 20 minutes away too. What's the big deal? You know, but that's just not what she wants. I think this entire generation has this checklist, especially the women, of exactly what they want. And they have to check their boxes. And if they check every box except one, it's no deal. Right. And she's meeting a lot of guys who it works. And then all of a sudden the guy's like, yeah, I'm just not feeling it. And then they're out. I don't know what's happening. I'm not speaking specifically about her, but I look at like Married at First Sight. Only one couple made it. And two of the couples that didn't make it, I just thought the women were horrible to the guys, like just treated them horrifically. They were really trying. You know, the one guy, Alan, I mean, Madison was definitely far hotter than Alan, but he was a really funny guy and he was really personable. And there were a lot of positives in him, but she just couldn't get past his look. She never gave him a chance. And then the other couple, she was just mean to him because he lived with his parents literally in the basement. But he said, I moved in with my parents because I'm saving money so I can buy my own house.
Yeah.
Right. She couldn't see that. She's like, I can't believe he hasn't launched. I can't live with some.
Like have all the fancy clothes and hundreds of thousands of credit cards.
Yes. Yeah.
Because she doesn't want to tell her friends that he is being financially irresponsible living. He dodged a bullet, you know?
I agree. But I do the point of the whole thing, I think, of this conversation is that these young ladies especially are so wed to it has to be exactly what my fairy tale is, exactly what's in my head. And if I don't get what's exactly in my head, I think they're going to miss out on great guys. And I think they're going to be really miserable 10 years from now when they're still single and they realize I'm never having children and I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. I just think it's
on this show. I've seen it both ways. And I've seen one season in particular, all the guys are jerks pretty much, you know, and the women are trying so hard and they're just not invested in it. And once they get back to whatever town they're from, they're at the bars partying till 4 a.m. instead of you're supposed to be in this compact couple of week period. Yeah, you're back and you have your phones back and you can see your friends and family, but you're supposed to be like making your big decision and seeing if you can make it and live together and cohabitate. And they just weren't focused on it. But then whoever casted the British version, I've only seen one season of it. I was like, these guys are amazing. All the guys were great on it. It was right after they had a season of ours where the guys were all trash.
Wait, so is the British version also called Love is Blind? Or is it Love is Blind UK? See, I'm deep into the Gypsy Rose documentary on TLC. Like she's got a reality.
Very chick. I have not seen that documentary, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'm deep into that. And now Nadia Suleiman, the Octomom.
Oh, I didn't know that one.
Yeah, she's got a show on TLC too, like Where Is She Now kind of thing.
There's kids now. Like
so I've got that going. I've got 1,000 Pound Friends, 1,000 Pound Sisters.
I can't believe you don't watch Love is Blind then.
I got a lot going on. I can't watch it all.
Too much on your docket.
I got a lot. All right, let's wrap this up here. Let's see who's here. We got a lot of questions. Okay. Jerry, as a college alum from the 80s, I can assert definitively that Kamala looked completely baked. Sal, I don't really watch reality shows because I find them to be too real. Chris Christie said James Carville and his wife made it work.
Yeah.
Things have changed, though. Mangle says, I watched about 4 minutes of Survivor, and that was it for reality TV. Talking about Love is Blind, Gregory, I saw some posts about that on X. That poor guy was cruising a bruising. I just hate that they waited till they got to the altar to dump them. I just think that was really mean.
It's humiliating. And you've involved the families. Your parents have met each other even. Yeah. Problem.
Sal, political tribalism is their family nowadays.
It is. And that used to be like 50 years or I don't know when, like religion was the big hang up. Oh, you're a Methodist and you're a Catholic. Whoa, can't do it, you know? And
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, all right, how do they vote? That's the question they're asking now.
Scott, been engaged twice so far. Was okay. I'm assuming he did not get married twice. Porchview Farm, I could never marry a Democrat or a Michigan fan. Sal says Jennifer is delightful. Yes,
Oh,
she
thanks.
is. LOLPV. Oh, Porchview Farm. I could never marry a Democrat or a Michigan fan. Rebecca, I got married at 18 and so far have been married over 26 and a half years. Good for you. Porchview Farm, we got rid of TV 10 years ago. I don't miss it. Wow. I don't know if I could do that. It's my escape. Like all these dumb shows are my escape. You know, same thing for you, Jen, and a lot of us. Politics and news is our life. And I need to have shows that I can watch where someone else's life is way more miserable than mine. Like I watched like the Gypsy Rose Lee thing and I'm like, or Gypsy Rose, whatever her name is, Blanchard. I watched that thing and I'm like, damn, that girl is a really bad decision maker, like really, really bad. And I get like she's a bad decision maker now because she's been in prison, so she doesn't understand. But it makes me feel good then because like I may have screwed up this week, but at least I don't have a documentary on TLC, right?
Yeah.
Like so it could be worse.
I watched it. I'm like, thank God I met my husband Brant, and I'm not dealing with all this nonsense with these different dudes and all this other. I got that right. I'm so lucky that I got it right because these people are all struggling, and it is a little bit of Schadenfreude to watch that show. I guess I confess.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I do. Someone was saying just the other day how much they're into I thought of you because they're into the Real Housewives, and they went that like which is the best series of all. There's so many different ones. Which one's the best one? If I wanted to give it a try.
Well, I watched the Real Housewives of New Jersey because these are my people. And I know where everything is. And I know people just like this. So I can relate to that. That's the only Real Housewives that I watch. I don't watch any of the other ones.
Okay.
I can't get invested in anybody else's.
Is it Beverly Hills or something, right?
Oh, there's Beverly Hills. There's Salt Lake City. There's Orange County. There's New York. You know, there's tons of them.
Huh.
They have a lot of franchises. Like I said, I can only get involved in the Real Housewives of New Jersey because, again, these are my people. Sal says it seems that too many liberal women want guys who could give birth. No, you know what the problem is? I think it's the opposite. Because if you ever see
a real man, but then they don't want a man that votes differently than them.
Exactly.
So there's not a whole lot of talk about the Venn diagrams of Kamala. Like they have a challenge there.
They do. They want an alpha male. They want a man's man who's hot, you know, who like goes out and makes money and can split,
his privilege and,
right. Put on a flannel shirt and chop some wood on the weekends, but is also a soy boy, and that ain't gonna happen. Wow. That doesn't work. All right, very quickly, Mango Mush. I've been with my wife for 32 years. Not always peaches and cream, but we love each other even when we're pissed off at each other. All right, Rebecca says it's been fun. Sal is out of here. We are leaving as well. I will put all of Jennifer's information up when I put up the videos and the audio. How to follow her on X at ESQ on Fire. Please follow her, and you can get her show on 93.9 The Eagle in Columbia, Missouri.
Yep, and it's podcasted, and we stream it on Facebook on 93.9 The Eagle on Facebook.
Fantastic. So check her out. Thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate you joining me here. Thank you so much.
It was super fun. I enjoyed it.
All right. Take care. Bye. All right. God bless everybody. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to please like the podcast. Please subscribe if you have not done so. I will see you next week. Have a great week, everybody. Oh, and just a programming note. I forgot to tell you, I will be in for Wendy Bell on Friday. I'll be in on the Wendy Bell show, which is on Rumble, the video. It's video and audio. So it's a 3-hour radio show from 9 a.m. to noon. 9 a.m. to noon. So, and it's also, and then I will be on her Newsmax television show this weekend. All right. So I'll post all of that as well. Have a great one. God bless.